And you're going to hear right now. This is the second year that Patrick Schneemann has competed for us. And what a wonderful blessing that I got to meet Patrick and also work with him. He is truly a joy. He is also part of the talented Schneemann family, which Helen, his sister, also competed for us. He is just a delight to work with, and you're going to love this piece. This piece was written by a friend of mine, and when I heard it done, I knew that it belonged to Patrick. He has attached himself to it, as he did last year, to his prose that he won the gold with last year. And this year, once again, that gold medal belongs to him. Patrick Schneemann.
I touch the future, I teach. Those were the words of Krista McCullough. Now, with that in mind, think of the tremendous responsibility our teachers face in the classroom each day. But at the same time, think of the blessings. Because you see, there is no other feeling in the world like the feeling of being able to say, I actually changed someone's life for the better. Miss Daisy Boyd, a 4th grade teacher at Hazelwood Elementary School, has dedicated her entire life to touching the future and making lives better. Miss Daisy by Donald Davis. My favorite teacher of all time was Miss Daisy Boyd. I had her in the 4th grade, the 42nd year she had taught 4th grade. Believe me, she knew what she was doing. I remember the very first day of school. Well, she was standing up in front of the room talking to us when we all noticed this mouse running along the base of the blackboard behind her. Well, we were all watching the mouse, and we knew in a minute that she was going to see that we weren't watching her. And well, when she did, this would be a test to find out what this new teacher was really made of. Well, she caught on about the time the mouse got to the corner. She turned around and saw it. She didn't make a sound. She just sort of eased over to the corner, surrounded that little mouse, and gathered him up in her bare hand. Then she kind of brought him back in front of the class, kind of as if to show us, you know. And splat! Then she dropped him into the trash can. Now, did you think any of us were going to mess with her after that? No way. You see, our whole year there in 4th grade was built around her taking us on this imaginary trip around the world. Well, we'd come in every morning and plan where we were going to go that day. Oh, it was going to be a great year. You see, we were just going to play. Or so we thought. The first thing we did was take a train to New Orleans, where we got on a boat and started for South America. I remember it was pretty rough sailing there in the classroom the first few days. You see, we had to learn how to spell all the parts of the ship. And if I remember right, that just about made me seasick. Now, about the 3rd day out, we came into the room one morning, and scooting into the door came a little boy by the name of Lucius McCoy. Now, Lucius, he had a wool knit toboggan pulled down way over his ears. He wouldn't take it off for nothing. He came into the room, went right past his desk, went over to the corner of the room, and wouldn't come out. Well, Miss Daisy, she came in, took one glance at him, and started right into the whole procedure for the day. She said, now, boys and girls, today's the day we cross the equator. Any of you ever cross the equator? Well, let me tell you what we have to do when we cross the equator for the very first time. Why? We have to have a big party for Neptune, king of the deep. And then she went back into her coat racks and started bringing out things kids had left there at the end of school for 42 years. She brought out these old rotten raincoats, these broken umbrellas, these odd galoshes, and she started dressing us all up for this big party for Neptune, king of the deep. While she pulled down the window shades to show us how the sailors on the boats used to use the sails to catch rainwater and make bathtubs. While she said some of the sailors for this big party even had their heads shaved. And right there and then, she pulled off Lucius's toboggan. And his head was shaved. We were all jealous. We wondered, how did he get to be the one to be picked? Well, you know, it was a long time later before I learned the truth. That the day before, when Lucius had gone home from school, his mother had found lice in his hair. Well, she had shaved his head and washed it with kerosene. And Miss Daisy, without pausing for a moment, had taken this young boy with the blistered head and transformed him into a hero crossing the equator. But we got down to South America after that, and we started up the Amazon River. Miss Daisy would always say, now boys and girls, the Amazon is the longest river in the Americas. There's butterflies here so big you could ride on them. Well, if you could catch one. Now, it didn't make any difference to me where we went from there. The Amazon was always my favorite place. Because, you see, my art project for that year was to make a butterfly so big you could ride on it. I remember I started on a Friday afternoon. I worked all weekend long. And by Sunday evening, I had me a butterfly so big I could ride on it. I could hardly wait till Monday to show Miss Daisy. And boy, she loved it. Wonderful, she said. And then she took a big coat hanger, hooked it in that butterfly's back, and pinned him up over the middle of the room. And for the rest of the year, my butterfly floated right there over the tops of all of us. I was so proud. Well, we traveled around the Mediterranean after that, and about December, for some unspoken reason, Miss Daisy left us in a place called Bethlehem for Christmas vacation. Now, if the Supreme Court had happened to come on down to Hazelwood School just to sort of check on the separation of church and state, they would have found Miss Daisy teaching us how to spell all the geographical features of Israel. But when we got out that Friday afternoon before Christmas, no one in the room had any doubt about, well, why she had left us there for the holidays. We came back after that and we started across Eastern Europe. We visited China and Japan across the Pacific. Until finally, about the last 2 months of the year, we took this long imaginary train ride all across North America and everywhere in between. Until the last day of May, there we were in Hazelwood School, where we had been all along. Well, you know, I didn't think too much about Miss Daisy after that. I eventually got out of high school. I went away to college. And then, well, 12 years had passed, and I was back home one summer working as a busboy at the Mount Valley Inn, when one afternoon I saw Miss Daisy's two sisters pull up in their car. Well, they got out and took something out of the back seat, and they started coming up towards supper. Well, I knew who they were, so I went out to meet them. But as I got close, I saw what they had. Well, they had there between them, hanging onto their arms, what was left of Miss Daisy. But now she was just this little skinny bone-looking wisp of a person with her head hung down and her toes barely touching the ground as they sort of carried her along. One of Miss Daisy's sisters spoke. Daisy's had a stroke. Well, when did she have it? She's had it 6 years now. She got it when she retired. Oh. And then they took her on in to feed her supper. You know, I passed by their table every once in a while, and I tried to do what I had to do without looking. But to see them cut Miss Daisy's food up in tiny little bites and to give her just a little bit at a time, it just made me feel so sad. She once had so much life. Finally, I had to go back by the table one last time to clean off all the dishes. And, well, when I was there, I could feel somebody looking at me. When I looked, and it was Miss Daisy. But this time, her eyes were clear and as blue as they had ever been. And alive. And from way down inside her came this tiny little voice. The Amazon is the longest river. There's butterflies here remember. You see, when we were back in the 4th grade, every once in a while we'd say, "Oh, Miss Daisy, why do we have to learn all this junk? Why?" And she would always say, "Because children, one of these days you're going to be able to go anywhere you want to. And you must know where you're going." And so you see, it's not sad about Miss Daisy. It's not. Because I've seen that she's now in a world in which she can go anywhere she wants to. I've been there. Back in the 4th grade. And you know, Miss Daisy knows where she's going. Why? She can even ride the butterflies.